Woo, y'all look so good. Give yourself a hand for looking so good. Thank you. It's been so cool. Some of you have come up to me that I've only seen via Zoom. And you're like, you come right up to me and you say, hey, Coach Burt, hey, Coach Burt. And I'm like, yeah. You know, you want to take a picture? They said, no, we want to take a picture with your wife. I'm like, thank you, sweetheart. My name is Coach Micheal Burt, and I have a real simple philosophy. I believe everybody needs a good coach in their life. I believe a good coach can change your life. I believe a good coach will get you to do things you don't want to do. They'll challenge you to become something you didn't think you could become, but a good coach can take you to places you never thought you could become. How many of you got to where you are today because somebody, somewhere chose to see the good in you when it was easy to see the bad? See, when Doug called me, he said, Coach, I want you to really talk about going pro. How many of you guys have heard me say at some point in everyone's life, we make a decision? The word decide means to kill something off. The word decision means to cut something away. And we make a decision to leave our amateur desires behind. And we go pro. And we go pro in the body, physically. We go pro in the mind, mentally. We go pro in the heart, emotionally. And we go pro in the spirit, spiritually. We leave those amateur desires behind and we go pro. You see, Doug mentioned that I do a lot of work with Dr. Kevin Elko, which is Nick Saban's psychologist at the University of Alabama. Dr. Elko always says some people play on Friday nights. Some people play on Saturdays. But the pros play on Sundays. And then there's the Super Bowl pros that play for the Super Bowl. And only you can make up your mind to leave those amateur desires behind and take this business serious and go pro. So I'm gonna break down the habits of the top 1% of performers in the world. Would that be okay for you? How many of you would like to be in the top 1% of performers in the world? And I'm gonna show you that the top 1 to 3% of performers have 5 things that they do, and you can look at these 5 things and you can ask yourself, where do I struggle? What is my missing structure? How do I build this? And it all goes back to cycles. So Doug mentioned my talent. I can't cook. I'm geographically illiterate. Can't fix a car. There's a lot of things I can't do, guys. But the good Lord gave me the talent to take a concept, deconstruct that concept, codify that concept, and then package and deliver that concept in a way that activates something deep inside of a person. You see how clear I am in my talent? See, each one of you have a unique talent. That talent was given to you at birth. It was factory installed by the manufacturer. But you have birthday gifts that you haven't opened yet. And once you find the birthday gift, and once you package the birthday gift, and once you distribute the birthday gift, then you can go help a lot of people with the birthday gift. So greatness has a cycle. And let me show you what that cycle looks like. And this is a cycle that I went through personally in my life. I grew up in a small town in Tennessee. There's all my Tennessee people. I was raised by a single mother who had me when she was 16 years old. My mom and dad married for 1 year and then they divorced. My dad never came to a baseball game. He never hugged me. He never told me he loved me. He never showed up at anything I did growing up early in my life. So it was me and this real tough single mom. And my mom taught me we dress up, we show up, we grow up, and we deliver. How about a hand for all the mamas out there in the world? And mom wouldn't let me miss a day of school growing up, and man, I hated it. Other kids could miss, and other kids could do this, and I said, Mom, I don't feel like going. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. Amateurs listen to their feelings. Professionals do not listen to their feelings. Do you really believe Journey feels like singing Don't Stop Believing Again? But they do it when you go to pay money to see them play, right? So my mom, while she was working her 2 jobs, she would work at the shirt factory during the day, and then she would go to nursing school at night. And she would take me down to the local baseball field where I would stay for hours and hours and hours. And it was one woman down there named Mickey Vincent. Mickey Vincent was a female baseball coach, the only female down at the the local baseball field, and that woman tended to me. She cared for me. She fed me. And I observed something very powerful. I watched how she took care of other people's kids. And I had a huge revelation. Revelation is a sudden, dramatic moment. I observed, and I had a revelation. A good coach can change a person's life. Everybody needs a coach in their life. And I observed it by watching this woman named Mickey Vincent. And so at 6 years old, she would teach me everything. She would coach me. And then she said to me one day this: one of these days when you grow up, you're gonna be a great coach. At 6 years old, she saw that in me. How many of you see the talents in your children right now? And you can see those talents. And with the right coaching and the right mentorship and the right discipline, that those talents can manifest and they can go help lots of people. See, you can see talents in other people, but many times you can't see it in yourself. So I had this big revelation. The revelation is, man, everybody needs a good coach in their life, because a good coach can change your life. So first, you have a big revelation. How many of you had a sudden dramatic moment when you made a decision to pick up the phone, to take action, to get on the program at Optavia? How many of you had that moment? Just look around the room. I was in Mexico speaking at a major conference. I had so much confidence on stage. Confidence is a memory of success. It's an internal knowing that you can create or manifest what you see in your mind. It is a memory of success. I had so much confidence on stage, but I walked off stage and they said, hey, come out by the pool. And we were in Mexico, and I looked at my wife and I said, I don't feel confident about my body. And one guy had been following up with me for 2 years, touching base and following up and messaging me. And he was right there in my life. And he just kept encouraging me and kept supporting me. And he kept believing in me. And that one guy was Doug Wood. And I picked up the phone that day and I called Doug Wood and I said, put me on the plan, put me on the program, because I'm going pro in my health. Revelation. Everybody see that? Sudden, dramatic moment. From the moment, guess what you do? You have a conviction. How many of you can feel my conviction? See, you may think conviction is passion. Conviction is a deep-seated belief in something. It is deep in your core. See, this is why it's very important when you're sharing your Optavia story. If you've had the revelation, if the program has transformed your life, then you should have a deep conviction to go help other people. Yes or no? See, you shouldn't be afraid to talk about it. You shouldn't be scared of what other people are going to say. You should have a deep, deep conviction that it is to their benefit to take action with you. It is to their benefit to take action. Because of the conviction, now guess what I'm willing to do? Whatever it takes. See, amateurs listen to their feelings. Professionals do not listen to their feelings. One morning I woke up and I told my wife, I don't feel like motivating people today. Guys, I've been doing this 30 years. I started at 15 years old. I am 45 years old. For 30 years, I've been coaching people. I don't always feel like doing something. And I woke up and I rolled over at 5:30 in the morning. I said, sweetheart, I don't feel like doing this today. And she rolled over and looked at me and said, then watch one of your videos. And I'm like, thank you, thank you. But here's the funny thing. I did watch one of my videos, and guess what happened? I motivated my own self. Because you watch my video. How many of you watch my videos in the morning? Raise your hand if you watch my videos. Just look around the room. Let me let you in on a little secret. I ain't doing those for you. I'm doing them for me. Especially when I had a bad attitude one morning, I said how to change a bad attitude to a good attitude. It's because I had a bad attitude that morning. And attitude is a posture of the body represented by physical state. And I said, man, I'm changing my bad attitude to a good attitude. And the way I'm going to do is I'm going to go on Facebook right now and I'm going to teach people how to have a good attitude. I'm going to show them how to do it by getting on Facebook and telling myself, and I'm going to help you while I'm helping me. I got a deep conviction. Because I have a deep conviction, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. When I show you the habits of a pro today, the pros focus on their business every day, not every now and then. If you really have, I'm going to ask you a very serious question. If you really have a conviction about this plan, this program, this system, this habits of health, why would you do it every now and then? Why would you do it when you feel like it? Why wouldn't you go the distance to see something through to its logical conclusion? Why wouldn't you go all the way versus part of the way? You see, I want to show you a word that I've been using lately called remarkably bold. See, this is the definition of boldness. Fearless, brave, valiant. Remarkable is striking, worthy of attention. Not long ago, we had a guy at our lodge named John Dorenboss, and I had never met John Dorenboss. I didn't know who John Dorenboss was, but my buddy, Dr. Elko, said, I want to bring Dorenboss to your lodge, and you do some videos together and put a program together. And I said, sure. This guy shows up, and man, when he walks in the door, he is bold. And I couldn't figure out what it was about him that I really liked, but he was so confident. And I pulled him over to the side on one of the breaks when we were shooting video, and I said, man, what made you so bold? He said, when I was a kid, I watched my father come home one night and kill my mother. Wow. And I witnessed it. He said, when you see that, and you learn to fight through that, he said, there ain't anything in life that you're afraid of. Dorenboss was a kicker in the NFL. While simultaneously being on America's Got Talent. He would play all day long in camp from 8 to 5 for the Philadelphia Eagles. He would get on a plane in Philadelphia and fly all the way to California to shoot the show America's Got Talent as a magician at night and fly all the way back to Philadelphia. And he did that during the whole shooting of the show. And he got to the very, very end of the show and he was about to win America's Got Talent. But he had a problem, and the problem was if he goes on the show, for the very last show, he misses a game versus the Dallas Cowboys. And he said, I cannot sign the papers because if I play in a game, if I don't show up, it's a huge fine by NBC. He said, so I'm not gonna sign the papers. So he goes back and he plays. He does not win America's Got Talent, although he had more votes than anybody has ever had on that show because of his boldness. Because he didn't go on the show, he went back to the Philadelphia Eagles. They actually traded him to another team, and while trading him, they made him do a physical. When they made him do a physical, they found out he had an aneurysm in his heart. He had a hole in his heart, and he was about to die. Because he didn't sign the papers, because he didn't win America's Got Talent, because he went back to play for the Eagles, he had to go through the, everybody see that? And he said, I'm alive today because it all worked out the way it's supposed to be, and that is why I'm so bold. See, some of you are timid. You're telling me this program's changed my life. You're telling me this is, they didn't tell me this was gonna be this steep with these nice shoes on. I gotta ease on down here. You can't wear them Ferragamis on that slide right there. You see, some of you have had the revelation, sudden dramatic moment, but you don't have the conviction you need. And you're afraid when you call a person to get them to take action because you're afraid of what they'll say. You're afraid they may reject you. You're gonna find out today there is no such thing as rejection. Some will, some won't, so what? I'm only looking for people that are looking for me. I tell people I'm looking for Navy SEALs, not baby seals. So I want to ask you a question when it comes to remarkable boldness. This is the language of pros. Look at this. Remarkably bold. I don't like just bold. I like remarkably bold. See, I look at everybody that sits up here on the front, everybody that's been on this stage. Guess what they all have in common? They're all bold. Yes or no? Yes. They're all bold. If you wanted to look at one characteristic of every person that is on this stage that is doing the best in this business, it is they all have a remarkable boldness. They are not afraid of anything. You said they're hot too. I like that. I like that. She said they're hot too. Number two, they're decisive. Is that the habit of a pro? Decisive. See, when I follow up with the person, here's what I say. The purpose of this phone call is to help you do one thing. Make a decision. The word decide means to kill something off. What are we killing off? Fear, anxiety, insecurity, doubt, vacillation. This is what we're killing off. I am here to help you make a decision because without the decision, guess what I can't do? Right, Eric? I can't help you until you commit. But once you commit, I'm not gonna let you fail. Decisive, courageous. Look at this, action-oriented. We don't feel our way into acting. We act our way into feeling. See, when I don't feel like doing something, I do it. I don't feel like following up, I do it. I don't feel like dealing with the problem, I do it. I don't feel like prospecting. I don't feel like sharing the story. I don't feel like doing a video. Amateurs listen to their feelings. The football player don't feel like getting hit on Sunday, but he's getting paid a lot of money to catch that football. You got to get in your mind that you're a pro, and these are habits of pro. They invest in themselves as assets. I remember going home and telling my wife one day, I need to get coached by this very specific person, and this very specific person to teach me a skill that I don't have, and it's gonna be $50,000 for the day for me to be coached by that person. I went home and told my wife, and guess what she said? Go do it. If you think it will increase your skill, how many of you think the people who earn the most income have the strongest skills? Raise your hand if you think skills matters. See, I can have all the heart in the world, but if I don't have skill, I can have all the passion in the world. If I don't have skill, I can have all the confidence in the world. If I don't have skill, skill to explain our value, skill to follow up, skill to get a person to take action. Some of you are missing the skill, yes or no? You got the passion, you got the heart, but you don't have the skill. So she said, go do it. If you think it will help you, invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. That's what you tell other people, isn't it? Invest in your health because your health is your greatest asset. Pros don't major in the minors. Do you know how I know if I'm dealing with a small-time person or a big-time person? I listen to their language. Small-time people get together and talk about other people. The next level, people get together and talk about events. This is what happened last weekend. This is what happened next weekend. Big-time people get together and talk about ideas. The pros get together and talk about execution of those ideas. They don't have time for drama. They don't have time for low energy. They don't have time for distraction. I asked Tim Grover once, did Michael Jordan ever get distracted? Did Kobe Bryant ever get distracted? Did Dwayne Wade ever get distracted? Did they ever lose their confidence? He said they never lost their confidence, but they did get distracted from time to time. The word distract means to pull apart. If you are serious about building this business, should there be time, dedicated time every day to doing nothing but undistracted work on this business? Yes or no? Okay, how convicted are you? If you have a deep conviction, would you be willing to sacrifice something? I saw this last night in the presentation. The word passion also means sacrifice. I'm willing to give something up to get something in the future. So the language of the pro, we don't major in the minors. We major in the majors. Look at this. The amateur dabbles. I hear people say this, well, I'm trying this Optavia business. Have you heard anybody on this stage get up here and say, well, I'm just trying this business? How many of you heard the people that burn the ships and said, man, I'm going all in on this business? See, the amateur dabbles, the pro decides, the amateur listens to their feeling. The pro never listens to their feelings. The amateur blames everybody else. The pro takes full responsibility. I am where I am today based on every decision I have made up until today. Nobody has put me where I am today except me. Now, here's the good news. If I don't like where I am, I can change it. That day in Mexico, I changed my future by making a decision to go pro in my health. 30 pounds lighter. You seen some of my books out there? I'm afraid to show you some of them books because that was a Coach Burt with a big face. I'm like, Doug, why didn't you tell me I need to get rid of the big chubby face, man? I made a decision, folks. Here are the top 5 habits of the top 1% of people. And if you want to be in the top 1% of performers in the world, these are the habits of those performers. See, I like the book Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits is about making small decisions every day. And he tells the story in that book about a gentleman who got up every morning and went to the gym, but he only stayed for 5 minutes. And when you first hear that, everybody's like, 5 minutes? Like, why would you only go for 5 minutes? How can you do something for 5 minutes? But here's the deal. Many people will never even build the habit of getting up and getting dressed and driving themselves to the gym. See, he was building a habit because he can't extend it until he gets there. See, many habits, these little small atomic habits matter. See, some of the people you're coaching, how many of you guys have had bad habits at some point in your life? Raise your hand. Yeah, all of us. All of us. So when you think about the habits of the top 1%, I want you to look at this. Number one, they have a very strong intrinsic motivation. And we're gonna call that because goals. See, I'm a big believer. We hear a lot of people talk about find your purpose, find your why, start with why. Most people I coach don't know their why, they don't know their purpose, and they can't translate their purpose to the moment. I want to teach you how to translate your mission to your moment. See, I don't feel like doing it. Well, a because goal is a big reason you would be willing to do something even when you don't feel like it. See, because my dad wasn't involved in my life early, because of that, I made up my mind I wanted to be a good dad to my kids. Because we grew up poor, where the living room and the bedroom and the kitchen were all the same room, I made up my mind I didn't want my kids to be poor. Because I believe an object at rest stays at rest unless acted on by an outside force, I'm willing to go 7 to 15 touches because I have so much conviction that I can't help another person until they commit. And it is to their benefit to take action. See my because goals? See, what you should be doing with your coaches is finding out what their because goals are. What is your because? Why do you do this? What would force you to push? When you don't feel like it on Monday after you leave here, what will motivate you? The word motivate means to move. The word inspire means to breathe life into. The word activate means to initiate. What would motivate you to do something on Monday when you don't feel like it after you've been to this conference for 3 days? See, when you look at the top 1%, they have deep intrinsic motivation. It's deep. They don't have to be psyched up, jacked up, motivated every second. There's a deep reason why they're doing what they do. You follow me? What are your because goals? So number one is they're intrinsically motivated. Now look at number two. Number two habit of the top 1% is, man, they just keep coming. 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 You can't keep them down, man. The top 1% of people, when other people shut it down, when other people give up, when other people want to quit, these people don't quit. These people go into battle every day. See, King David was a great king in the Bible as long as he was going into battle. And then one year, his own troops said, stay home. It's all good. We'll take care of it, right? He stays home. He gets distracted by the Bathsheba show. Gets off his A game because he wasn't going into battle. See, top 1% just keep coming, man. We had a program where people could come and spend a day working with me. We call it Work with a Pro. And they would literally come and work with me for a day. At the end of the day, they all said the same thing. I don't work like you do. I don't have the work ethic you do. I don't make the number of calls you do. I don't do the number of videos you do. I don't follow up like you do. I don't keep going like you do. And every single one of those people that came to that said the same thing. Man, if I just got my work ethic back, if I just learned to play at this level, man, I could do something. See, the top 1%, they just keep coming. They just keep coming. When everybody else gets tired, when everybody else gets fatigued, when everybody else shuts down, the top 1% just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And they learn long obedience in the same direction. They learn how to fight through those feelings. They work through the cycle. Number three, they're not afraid of anything. I'm going to show you how the top 1%, top 3% that go pro, when they have feelings of fear, anxiety, insecurity, doubt, rejection, these are activators of their prey drive. P-R-E-Y-D-R-I-V-E, the instinct to go get it. Number four, connection. If you saw what people did for their clients. And the people they helped, of the top 1% of performers, it would blow your mind. When Natalie was pregnant with our first child, Ella Grace, it was a very, very long labor. And was in the hospital for a long time. And we got right to the very end when she was about to have the baby. And the nurse, who was one of my students when I was a high school teacher, I'm like, I sure am glad I passed her in that class. Right at the very end, she goes, man, we just need one more. We just need one more push. And the old basketball coach in me came out, and I said, suck it up and let's do this. Woo, it was instinct. It was instinct. It was not the right thing to say at that moment. I fully understand that now. But she said, it's the best thing you could have said to me. A good coach will sometimes have hard conversations with you that you don't want to have. What are you doing with your life? How long are we going to talk about you getting your health back? How many times am I going to listen to you complain? At what point are you going to take action? But let me tell you something about that nurse associated with connection. Because it was such a long labor, the nurses changed out. It was time for a new group to come in and the old group to go home. And so they one by one came in and said, thank you, good luck. There's some new nurses coming in. But not that student of mine. She walked in and she looked at us and she said, my shift is over, but I ain't leaving till we have this baby. And she said, I started this with you, and I'm gonna finish it with you. She was, as a nurse, in the top 1% to 3% of performers in that hospital. Look at what she was willing to do. When everybody else checked out, she said, nope, I'm going the distance. If you really think about what you can do, there's very few people that do this better than Doug and Tia Wood. Would you agree? Of thinking about you and thinking about what is best for you and helping you get to another frequency. See, you got to replicate that. You got to observe and go, what are they doing? How do they make people feel? When I'm with them, I feel better about me. Number 4, they have an incredible intrinsic validation. Now, many of you know Dave Blanchard, and Natalie and I are being coached by Dave Blanchard. And in our first session, he said to me, during our session, he said, Michael, we're going to get into agape love. And I went, what are we talking about? Like, are you kidding me? I'm elbowing Natalie under the table. I'm like, when's he gonna teach us how to make more money? Right? That's what I'm thinking. Like, we're gonna get coached, we're gonna go perform, coaches help you predict, right? So we can do session 1, agape love, which is what? Deep awareness and a sense of what other people need. It ain't going shallow with another person, it's going deep with another person. It's actually physiological. You can feel it. What you are shouts so loudly, I can't even hear what you have to say. So we do the first session on agape love, which is deep connection. Then we move into session 2, intrinsic validation. How do we intrinsically validate another person? I'm still like, all right, here we go. Third session, we're gonna get into connection. After session 3, I looked at Natalie and I said, this is how you grow your business. See, when you connect to other people's hearts and spirits, and you help them with things that keep them up at night, and you're a shoulder for them to cry on when they need it, and you're a boost of confidence when they want to give up, and you help them go the distance and do things they've never done. This is how you grow your business. As you go deep with people, that is connection. Final characteristic of the top 1% is the ability to lock in and not be distracted. I have a target. I'm going to see that target through to what? Its logical conclusion. Let me tell you where this is important. Some of you open files. You have people who are interested. They told you they were interested. You know you can help them, but you do not go the distance. I take it all the way through to its conclusion. I will stay with people. My whole concept is to stay with them all the way to they make a decision. These are the top habits of the top 1% of performers. Now, right now, I want you to tell the person beside you, out of those 5, what do you need the most? Which one do you need the most? And if you need all 5, it's a good thing you're here today. You're in the right place. Tell them right now, what do you think you need the most out of these top 5? All right. Now, here's what's happening. I want you to think about this right here because it's a very powerful exercise I'm going to show you. You are currently at A in your life. A is your current position. B is your ideal outcome. B is where you are moving toward. When I'm coaching people, I ask a very simple question. What's your B? You're at A. There are 2 types of people, what's called strategic optimists. Those are people that just think it's all going to work out. It's all going to turn out great. It'll all work. Then there's what's called defensive pessimist. And a defensive pessimist is a person that thinks about all the things that could go wrong. Because they think about all the things that could go wrong, they mentally rehearse. Allison, I'm talking to you. And you know why? Because I'm a defensive pessimist. I mentally rehearse everything that could go wrong, so it causes me to prepare and prepare and prepare and prepare and work through. There's no right or wrong. But when you're doing this exercise, what I personally do, I've done this exercise 92 times in the last 60 days. When I'm anywhere and I have a moment, A, current position. B, desired outcome. A, this is what I don't like. B, this is where I'm going to. B is tangible to me. And then I attach my because goals. See, my because goal is what motivates me to want to go from A to B. B may be, hey, you're working this business and this business allows your spouse to come home. B, you're working this business and you got a goal to help 1,000 people. B is, hey, you always wanted to live in this part of the world and you can do it now. B is some outcome that is unique to you. A is where you currently are. And every day I wake up, I go A to B, A to B. What's B? All right, what do we got to do? See, and then I attach my because goals. And that's the reason I dig in when I don't feel like digging in. What is your B? Where are you going in this business? What are you trying to do? Shouldn't part of your B to help so many people that at some point your residual income is greater than your living expenses? And you are truly wealthy and you do well by doing good. You do well financially by doing good by other people. Yeah. See, part of your B, when you wake up, it's like, where are we going? What are we trying to do? Natalie and I were having this discussion at breakfast this morning. Like, where are we trying to go? What are we trying to do? See, this tells me the difference between what's called high-value activity and low-value activity. High-value activity is specific, intentional activity that moves me toward my B. That's high value activity. Low value activity is any activity you participate in that has got absolutely nothing to do with moving you toward your B. So if you tell me, I'm gonna use this business, I'm gonna help a lot of people, I'm trying to get from A to B, I'm gonna ask you, if I followed you around for 24 hours, wouldn't it be fun if I came and lived with you for 24 hours? Wouldn't that be fun if I just watched and said, like, what are you, then every time you did something that had nothing to do with that B, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? It's got nothing to do with moving you toward where you're trying to go. See, this is where I'm gonna call you out, because that's what a good coach does. You can't tell me I'm gonna use this business to get to B and not devote time to it every day. You can't just say, I'm only gonna do it when I feel like doing it. Man, I woke up this morning, I didn't feel like calling on people. I didn't feel like making a post. I didn't feel like doing this. I didn't feel like Facebook messaging people. I didn't feel like doing events. See, you can't move toward B. You can't tell me one thing. When you pick up one end of the stick, you pick up the other end of the stick. And a coach is gonna push you and go, what are you doing? Let's go. Time to go to the next level. So here's the problem. Here's what's blocking you. Number one, B is not clear. Your B is not clear. You need to program it into the subconscious mind, and you need to tell yourself over and over and over and over and over, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, this is how we're gonna get there. Your brain works for you. You don't work for it. Number two is you're missing one of these things. These are what's called missing structures. When I'm coaching a person and I'm like, this is why you can't get there. You don't have the knowledge you need. You don't have the skill you need. You don't have the desire you need. You don't have the confidence you need. You don't have the relationships you need. Or you don't have the boldness that you need. See, one of these things is keeping you from going from A to B. What if I told you that confidence follows knowledge? Confidence follows skills. Confidence follows desire. Confidence follows, see, confidence comes after you put the work in to do this over and over and over and over. Confidence is the memory of success. Without confidence, there is no boldness. See, you gotta get to the point in your life, it's like, man, I have no fear whatsoever. I am so confident in this that I know it will work. How many of you know this program will work, yes or no? Okay, if you know it will work, then why would you be afraid to share it with somebody else? See, if you and I met out front and you said, I wanna argue with you for an hour that people don't need a coach in their life, I would take you on right now. Because you know how deep my conviction goes back to 6 years old when that woman on that baseball field changed my life. Because of that, I made up my mind I was gonna spend the rest of my life helping other people. See, it's cute when you tell a 14-year-old they have potential. It ain't cute at 42. See, at 42, it's like, you got a lot of potential. What are they really saying? What are they saying, Dan? What they're really saying is about time to get it together here, folks. Yes or no? That's just a real nice way of saying, come on, man, let's do this. Potential is an idea of kinetic energy that is stored until activated. It is an idea of embryonic growth that we'll be better today than we were yesterday, better tomorrow than we are today. In the last 6 months, I've coached an 81-year-old, 2 77-year-olds, 2 74-year-olds, 1 71-year-old. And hear what they all say, Coach, I still got one good swing in me. Potential. Your drive has to be activated. There must be a persistence to that drive. And you must have an intensity. I wanted you to embrace this concept, intense and positive. See, I used to be intense and negative as a young basketball coach. Threw things, kicked things. And guess what I never did during that period of my life? I never won any championships. At 25 years old, I was sitting on my back porch after a loss and I was so embarrassed. I was motivating people through fear. And when you borrow strength from your position of power, you actually build weakness in the relationship. And I was motivating through fear. Consequence-based. You don't do this, this. And I went home that night and I asked myself a simple question. How excited would I be to get up and play for me as a coach? My roommate was the men's coach, and he came home and sat right beside me. We both got lost, and I looked at him and I said, man, if you had to go work for you on Monday morning, how excited would you be to go work with you? He said, I wouldn't be excited at all. And I said, I wouldn't be excited about coming to play for me either. And I made a decision that night that I was going to be a coach that was both intense and positive. That I was going to become a person that people loved to play for, would run through the wall for. And I began to coach the whole person, the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. And I began to go deeper with people. And because we went deeper, those players played harder for me. We began to win championships. They didn't change, I changed. Here's a question you need to go back and ask your coaches. What can I do to be a better coach for you? Some of you have people on your team that have tremendous talent and potential. How many of you know people like that? Raise your hand. You look at them, you're like, man, they got so much talent. They got so much potential. If they would just get up and go do it, the drive has not been activated. And until that drive is activated, they're not going to go do it. You could get mad at them. You could fuss at them. Or you could go to them and say this, I see a tremendous amount of potential in you. What can I do to be a better coach to help you do this? How many of you have ever been told, you got a tremendous amount of potential? Without the help of the coach, you don't activate that potential. See, the coach needs the player, and the player needs the coach. See, you give me my purpose. I can't do what I do without you. Together, we can do something big, but we need each other. See, your people need you. They need you to show up. They need you to grow up. They need you to deliver. They need you to keep believing in them when they don't believe in themselves. Because my definition of leadership is affirming and validating the worth and potential in another person in so clear a way, they begin to see it in their own self. You guys have heard the story about my wife coming to a workshop at 30 years old. Her company, Verizon, sent her to a workshop on a book I wrote called This Ain't No Practice Life. They paid $50 for her to come to a workshop with me. And she sat in the back, real intense, took notes. She wasn't my wife, she wasn't my girlfriend, she was just a person. Taking notes, taking notes, taking notes. She would look at me, taking notes. Then she walked right up to me afterwards. She's like, I need to meet with you. And she was really pretty, so I'm like, sure, step over here. Like, I'm available right now. And here's what she said to me. Nobody's ever told me I have this kind of potential. Nobody's ever showed me how to activate my talent. Nobody's ever pushed me like this. Nobody's ever believed in me like this. That same girl that was selling cell phones for Verizon is now a health coach in Optavia. She's now writing her own books. Right? I even got her a coaching gig last year. An insurance company called in. They said, we want your wife to coach all the women. And I said, how much are you going to pay? They said, $50,000. I said, she'll take it. I got in trouble over that one. Here's my point. 30 years old, she had all that talent, all that potential. It just needed to be activated by somebody. And that somebody is a coach. I push her to reach her potential. She pushes me to be a better husband, to be a better father, to be a better friend, to enjoy our hard work that we've worked so hard for. We push each other. See, for you, your drive may not have been activated yet. You may have come to this, like, man, I got to go. But you have some emotions. See, when I think about emotions, here's what I'm thinking. There's certain emotions that keep people from going to the next level. You guys know what those emotions are? Let me show some to you. Fear. Face everything and rise. Face everything and run. See, when I'm afraid, I take more action. When I'm afraid, I push harder. When I experience fear, I move. At least 7 out of 10 people I coach contract. That means when they get afraid, they contract to places of comfort. They crouch down in fear. Habits of the top 1% when they're afraid, and don't think they don't get afraid too. They move. When in doubt, take an action. What is an action? Call somebody, email somebody, Facebook message somebody, follow up with somebody. If you don't have anybody to follow up with your current clients, follow up with your coaches, follow up with somebody. See, fear, when in doubt, take an action. What about embarrassment? See, some of you won't make a phone call or make a post because you're embarrassed. I love that. I don't like how I look on camera. I don't know if I can do a Facebook Live. How many of y'all have said that to yourself before? I don't want to be embarrassed. See, when I get embarrassed, I say, thank you, man, I owe you, because I got to get better. This is an emotion. What about this one? Envy. I have one simple concept. When you are jealous of another person, turn that envy into intrigue. What is he doing that I'm not doing? What is she doing that I'm not doing? Insecurity, just a sign of a lack of preparation. And I'm gonna finish on this one, rejection. When I was 25 years old, I thought I had met the woman I was supposed to marry. I said, God, you know. That's what I thought. This is the person I'm supposed to marry. And I fell in love. So much so that I went and I borrowed $5,000 to get an engagement ring. I didn't have $5,000. I was a high school basketball coach making $24,000 a year. And between the time I bought the engagement ring and the time I was going to propose to this person that I thought I was supposed to marry, our relationship started to go downhill. And I started to push harder because I felt like I was losing something. And I didn't know what to do, so I called this person's best friend and I said, man, I don't know what to do. Can you give me some advice? And this person said, don't ask the question if you don't want to know the answer. And I'm a high D on a DISC profile, so that made me want to ask even more. So I'm like, I'm asking right now. So I picked up the phone and I called my girlfriend at the time and I said, I got to meet with you right now. We met in my hometown. We sat at a restaurant, and on the way to the meeting, I stopped by and I got the engagement ring from the bank. And I walked into that meeting and I sit down and she looked at me and she said, Michael, I love you, but I don't love you enough to marry you. And I started crying and she started crying. And I reached in my pocket and I opened up that engagement ring and I said, this is how much I loved you. And we broke up that day. And I went into a deep depression. Couldn't get out of bed, couldn't eat, 6 months. I was a head coach, I had to pretend to be happy. I worked 18 to 20 hours a day just to fight through my feelings, just to try to make it. And it wasn't minute to minute, it was second to second. I couldn't go without 1 second about thinking about that. And I had to take that engagement ring back. And if you want a real lonely day in life, take an engagement ring back. It was one of the loneliest days of my life. And I took it into the jeweler, and the jeweler said, sir, why are you bringing this engagement ring back? And I'm like, I will punch you in the face right now in this jewelry store. And I don't even punch people, but I will. See, let me tell you how I felt. I felt rejected. I felt rejected. During that period, a friend came into my life and they said to me, there is no such thing as rejection. Here's what they said. Just because she doesn't want what you have to offer doesn't mean other people won't want what you have to offer.
Yeah, right.
See, there is no such thing as rejection. Some people will want this business. Some people won't want this business. If they don't want it, it's not rejection toward you. There is somebody out there who is looking for this. You're only looking for the people that are looking for you. And if you don't go out and share your message because of fear of rejection, then you don't have enough conviction. So about 5 years later, I went through that process, obviously met the woman I was supposed to marry. And I went back to my hometown to speak to all the teachers. And guess who was sitting on the front row? That girl that broke my heart. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna have to use a PowerPoint for this one. And I put a picture up there and I said, man, I got such an incredible life. I got a beautiful wife, I got beautiful kids, I got my own private jet. Woo! And that girl just sat on the front row like this right here. You see, that woman was right that day when she told me there is no such thing as rejection. I want you to walk out of here today with a remarkable boldness about you. You are not afraid to share what you know could change another person's life. That is conviction, because there is no such thing as rejection. Now, I'll finish with this, the pro steps. Let's get our mind ready for what our body's about to do. Let's get our mind ready for what our body's about to do. We're going to embrace conflict, because on the other side of conflict is deeper intimacy with our potential. We're going to take daily action every single day. We're going to be consistent. We're going to live in the gain versus the gap. And we're going to do exactly what my mama taught me when I was a little boy. We're going to grow up, and we're going to show up, and we're going to deliver. And those are the habits of the pros. That is the top 1%. Now, I believe this. I believe the speaking engagement opens your mind. I believe the coaching changes your life. So I told Doug what I want to do for every person in this room is I want to go a distance with you. So in the month of April, every Tuesday night in the month of April, I'm going to do a coaching session on the habits of the top 1%. Accountability, structure, focus, discipline. And I want to get you to that next level over the next 90 days. So this program will be 4 weeks with me. It's $97 investment. All you have to do is scan that picture, take a picture of it, sign up and get enrolled. And I expect that there'll be thousands of Optavia coaches there who want to grow up, who want to show up and will deliver. So this will be available to the end of this event. So if you're serious, I'm not looking for baby SEALs, I'm looking for Navy SEALs. Who's going to be a Navy SEAL with me? There we go. So I'll see you on that 4 weeks. I want you to have an incredible lunch. When I come back after lunch, we're going to get tactical connection. What a great session. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. God bless you.